It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant Prime.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino with you, taking your calls. If we get to them today, we have a fun little game, I guess we're playing. A little contest, whatever you want to call it. That might take the whole show. If it doesn't, we will take your calls at 201-939-4513. Today, we are going to be doing our NFC East player draft, where Paul and I will both select 11 players on offense and defense, so 22 players each, and then a punter, a kicker, a return person, and then your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach. And we're going to put our teams together. It's not a separate draft for the coaches and the players. They're all together into one thing. So if you think the head coach is really important, pick them first overall. That's how we're doing this. So everyone's going to get put together in one big pile here. So that's what we're going to do. But really quick before we get to that, we want to update you on what happened at OTAs today. We're in the podcast studio, brought to you by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Paul, another good day for the offense. Cordell Flott had a pick in the practice. He did a nice job. Wait, did Flott have the pick? No, Holland had the pick. Sorry. He had the pick crashing down over the middle early in practice. But the Russell Wilson, Jalen Hyatt combination continues to pick up steam. A great deep post.
Does it.
And then an awesome back shoulder throw on the right sideline. And then Jameis Winston had a connection, and the name's escaping me. Who's the undrafted rookie out of...
Bo Collins.
Bo
had
Collins, thank
three
you.
different catches today during team drills.
And two from Jameis Winston, one over the top, or two over the top, one on the right sideline, one kind of on a little flag route on one of the between the hash marks and the numbers. So those are the big offensive plays on that side of the ball.
Lane at safety had an interception early, too, in the first team drill. I wanted to get his other
Did he? I
defensive.
don't remember that.
Yeah, he intercepted a dart over the middle. But,
But that was Holland.
I had 43.
I think it was 8.
There's a big difference between 43 and 8.
Did you see the Holland interception as well?
I did not see the Holland interception.
It was not 43. It was 8.
Okay.
At least I'm 99% sure. Sidetak and I both had Holland with the pick,
Okay.
not 43.
Okay. I was talking to somebody on the medical staff for a minute, so I might have missed Holland's pick, but I could have sworn Lane had one too.
I'll have to ask Sidetak. I thought it was only Holland.
That's all right.
That's okay. It's fine.
In any event, well, we were inside today, of course, in the field house because it really drenched Bergen County
pouring
earlier this morning. Yeah, it was rough. Debo had a nice defense on the sideline. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was the beginning of practice in the 7-on-7s. All I can say is this.
Flott had a pass breakup on the left side, not a pick today. He had a pass breakup.
Winston had one throw, which we talked about after it happened. One of the catches by Collins. Winston did one of these 3/4 arm deals where...
That was on the crossing route over the middle, right? Yeah.
I will say this.
And then on the depot, by the way, he did a great job looking the safety off and getting the ball to the right sideline.
Jameis Winston has really nice tools. The problem is they don't always work exactly the way you'd want them to.
He practices like he plays. The flashes are spectacular.
It's exactly what happens,
but there are some dips, too.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
He is inconsistent. By the end of the day, after every practice, you always wind up saying to yourself, man, he made a few nice throws. And then you also say to yourself, he missed a few throws.
Yeah.
It happens every practice.
He's gotten progressively better as it's gone along, though. I think his last couple practices have probably been his best.
His percentage of better throws has been higher recently. I agree with that. I think, quite frankly, the last 2 practices, Dart slipped a little bit, as opposed to early on when he came out like a house of fire. He's had a few more miscues or misfires than he was having in the earlier practices. That's not to say he's done badly, because he continues to throw the ball well, but I'd say just, not quite as sharp as he was earlier on.
No, I'm with you. I think that's fair. All right, Paul, I'm trying to find where I did my notes here for this, because I can't find it. I'm going to have to do this kind of just fly by the seat of my pants here. I'm trying to find my notes for for our little contest today, and I don't know where they are.
Could I add just one other item about practice?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, well, that'll give me time to find this.
Okay, good. Daniel Bellinger, a diving grab from Russell Wilson, which was really sweet, and the teammates really celebrated it because it was a marvelous athletic catch by Bellinger. That was in 11 on 11s. That was really sweet. The other item was Theo Johnson, a one-handed stab as he reached up in the back of the end zone and pulled it in from Wilson. Wilson put it where nobody else could get it. And Johnson went up, climbed the stairs, and one-handed brought it down. So both of the Giants' lead tight ends on the depth chart came up with nice grabs today. I thought that was kind of nice. But I do think the offensive star of the day was Bo Collins.
Yeah, and I think Hyatt was the second one.
Hyatt would be the number 2 guy. Yeah,
nice
because they had multiple catches.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you want to get into our player draft here?
Sure.
All right, do you want to flip a coin again? I'll bring it up.
Doesn't matter. For me, it's half a dozen of one, 6 of the other.
All right, so you want me to go first?
Sure, why not?
All right, I'll go first. All right, my first pick, and again, folks, I explained the rules, so we're going to be going one by one here. I'm going to select Dexter Lawrence. I think he's, one of the best players in the entire division. I don't think it's a position of strength as much as some of the other ones, and I think he is a unique talent that I'm not going to find a replication of anywhere else in the division. So my first pick is going to be Dexter Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for that reason also, when you consider guys who are either offensive or defensive player of the year candidates, you'd have to believe that those are the guys who are going to come off the board very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's correct.
So Micah Parsons, for me,
oh, how about that?
Would have to be my first pick.
I thought your bias, part of my mental strategy here, I thought you were going to be biased against him, so I did not pick him first.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
I mean, my feelings. Remember, what did we talk about the other day?
I know.
And it's funny. Somebody wrote on one of the YouTube site after the show. Paul doesn't always understand the directions, or look, I get the directions. The question between best player or player you like is a different question. And in this particular case, you didn't ask me about players I liked.
I did not.
If you had, Micah Parsons probably would not have been my first pick.
No, that's fair.
But that's not what you asked.
All right, I'm loading up here, Paul. I'm loading up.
Okay.
Here we go. You know who you want next to Big Dexter Lawrence? Mm-hmm. You want a quick, explosive 3 technique that can get after the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Carter, please.
Yes, totally understand.
I will take Jalen Carter, and there's the middle of my... Look at me building through the trenches as Paul takes fancy pass rushers. Let's go.
Yeah, I get it.
And by the way, I thought Mike and Dexter should have been the first 2 guys picked, so I think that made sense. Now I think it gets a little more interesting in terms of strategy you want to take.
I'm taking Saquon Barkley.
He was in my top 5 as well. All right, so now, knowing how this works, I'm not going to have to touch a running back now until like the last pick in the draft. Because Paul's not going to pick a second one.
Correct.
And there's no clear-cut second one that you have to have.
I'm telling you that now. I'm not taking a second one. I could if I wanted to run a pro set, but
yes.
I'm not going to.
And I should bring this up, by the way. So right now, and I'm keeping track of how many guys from each team get selected as well. So we got 4 players, 2 from Philly, 1 from the Giants, 1 from the Cowboys. I'm letting Paul build this the way he wants. So if he wants to run a 2 tight end offense, he can run a 2 tight end offense. If he wants to run base defense, he can run base defense. He can run nickel if he wants. Same for me. So it's not going to mirror each other necessarily. We just want to get the best 11 on the field we can as we build these lineups. Okay, I'm going to select with my next pick. I'm going to go Lane Johnson, right tackle, Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's another elite right tackle in the division. I think he stands out. I think there's a few left tackles that are really good. Well, but I think the only right, and you don't have to. You don't have to do it that way. But I like.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. Are we definitely locked into left guard, left tackle, right tackle?
If you want to put one of the left tackles at right tackle, you can. But I'm gonna take that as an advantage because I have a guy that's actually set up at that spot. And frankly, you can argue he's the best offensive lineman in the division. On top of that.
Yeah.
He's a perennial Pro Bowler. He's fantastic. He's really, really good. So I'm going to continue to build up through the trenches, and I'm going to go right tackle Lane Johnson.
And that's why Andrew Thomas was next on my list.
Really, with the injury issues, you're taking Andrew Thomas
Yeah,
over Jordan Mailata.
I got to do it.
Okay.
I got to do it.
Andrew Thomas, the Paul at left tackle, as now we're going to we have a little run here. We'll see. We have a couple good offensive tackles left, so I'm not sure you're necessarily going to have a huge run here, because you got two guys left that are pretty darn good. Okay, I'm going to go. Let's see. Where else do I see a sore thumb of a guy that is a perennial Pro Bowler? Okay, so I'm going to go here then. I am going to continue to build out the offensive line and a guy that I think stands out as by far the best guard in the division. I'm going to go Tyler Smith from the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's much better than Landon Dickerson, or significantly better. And I think he stands out as a guard that just can be dominant and just be really good inside. So I'm going to go with Tyler Smith from the Cowboys as my selection here.
Okay, that's understandable. Let's see, where did I have him on my list here? No, I didn't have him on my list at all, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. I'm going to
So we've had 7 players go, not one Commanders player yet.
No.
Just FYI.
Well, I don't know what to say about
They
that.
went to the NFC title game
I
last year.
know.
I think it's interesting.
It is interesting. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just the way it's just the way it's falling.
Just pointing it out.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go to Juergens at center.
Oh, you're going center. Okay. I think he's by far the best center in the division.
It's not close.
It's the same theory that I use with Tyler Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're picking the guy that kind of stands out at that one particular position. I totally get where you're going with that. All right. I think that makes sense. So that's Juergens, another Eagle. All right. So I am going to go now. Now you're trying to squeeze value, right? And get guys that maybe aren't deep at certain positions. But I do think you have to just make sure you kind of just get the best players on your team too. So I don't think you should start picking guys that aren't, Pro Bowl guys, surefire Pro Bowl guys yet. So I'm going to go. It's such a coin flip between these two guys. I want both of them. I don't know which one to pick. Or maybe I'll go a different position. I'm going to go AJ Brown as the first receiver off the board from the Eagles. And the reason I decided to go with Brown in that group, I just think from a speed, physicality standpoint outside, he's just a beast where he can out-physical guys with the football, come down with them, make big plays. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown as my next pick here.
Okay.
So that's Philadelphia Eagle number 5.
Yeah, that's not a surprise, right?
Nope.
They're already starting to dominate the damn list.
Correct.
Oh, man. I'm going to take Tunsil at tackle.
Okay. Good pick.
I'm going to go, We finally got a Washington guy.
So that's your right tackle.
Yeah, that's my right tackle.
Okay. That's fine. I'm going to go.
I felt bad for Washington. I wanted to get him on the board.
Yeah. And I think you can actually have a debate as to which offensive tackle you pick next, because Mailata is also very good.
Yeah.
You can have that
Yeah.
debate, but Tunsil's fine. All right, so now I don't have to pick Mailata for a while. I can let him sit there. That makes me feel good.
Yes, you can.
All right, I'm going to double up on wide receiver, man. I want my weapons. I didn't get the weapon at running back. I want my weapons at wide receiver. Give me CeeDee Lamb, please.
CeeDee Lamb.
And I'll be rolling with A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb as my 2 wide receivers. I feel pretty good about that.
Okay. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go Mitchell at cornerback.
Okay. I think he's the best corner. I think that's a good pick. All right, so
Freaking another Eagle.
you took the words out of my mouth. About to say the same thing. All right, so then we got cornerback. We got second-year player, too. That shows what a good pick that was last year, that he's the first corner off the board and he's getting picked that high.
I know.
That is pretty good. If you're Quinion Mitchell getting picked that high.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is interesting now. Where do I want to go next? I have a couple different options. I don't feel like there's much of a difference between the top 2 quarterbacks, which is the only reason I have not taken a quarterback yet. Like if I wind up with any one of those two guys, I'm happy with it. So I'm not gonna kind of attack that before I have to. You know where I'm gonna go here? I'm gonna select Javon Holland. I think he's the best safety.
Okay.
And I think there is a fairly significant drop-off as you go from him to the next safety on the list. What is it, Malik Hooker, Tyler Nubin? I do think there's a significant drop-off when you go from one to the next. So I want to make sure I get the best guy at that position. I'll take Javon Holland. That's Giant number 3 off the list.
Okay. Let's see here.
Oh, I know. I should have picked somebody else. Shoot. Okay, go ahead. I'm into it myself. Go
I'll
ahead.
take Neighbors.
Okay, good pick.
Malik Neighbors.
He was my next best wide receiver on the list. That's a good pick. So that's Giants number 4 off the list. And Paul selects Malik Neighbors. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep the streak going here. Actually, when it comes to Giants, and I need an edge player. And I think Brian Burns is by far the next edge player left on the board. So I'm gonna take Brian Burns to play next to Dexter Lawrence and Jalen Carter inside. I think I feel pretty good about that. And that's New York Giant number 5.
Okay.
Okay. You're up, sir.
I'll take Thibodeau.
Thibodeau. Interesting. Okay.
I'm counting on a bounce back year from him.
Okay. That's Giant number 6. A little early for my taste. Like, you think he's definitely better than Nolan Smith and Dorrance Armstrong?
Well, let's put it this way. If he does what he's capable of, I think he is. But he's got to reach his ceiling. If he doesn't reach his ceiling, then he won't be.
Yeah,
That's
no,
simple.
I buy that. I'm on board with that. I think that's fair.
And it is for him an important year because that 5th-year option will be looming.
Oh, very important.
You know,
correct.
I mean, he knows the story.
He has the 5th-year option already. He doesn't have to earn it. But,
no, what I'm saying is it's looming, and that'll be the final year of his deal. If he wants that extension, he's going to have to play out now.
Okay, I'll take the other guard that I think is a standout. Give me Landon Dickerson, guard from the Eagles, who I think is the next best guard in the division. I feel good about him, and as I try to build out my offensive line here, and he would be a left guard. Right?
I'll take Cosme right away then.
Yep. And Cosme, he's a right guard, right? For them, if I'm not mistaken, right? Okay, hold on, I think I might have just put the wrong one in there. Yeah, I put that for you. That's my bad. All right, so Landon Dickerson is me, and Sam Cosme is you here. Let's see, Sam Cosme, okay. And then Landon Dickerson was me at left guard, and I got to add those to the list here for. Well, I'll put Landon Dickerson. I'll move him to right guard. That's fine. That's not a big deal because I have Tyler Smith already, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm not sure. Did I add him already to the list or no? I don't remember. Shoot. How many Eagles have been taken already? I'm going to make sure I have
I'm not counting those.
I know you're not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah. So I think I did write him down already. Okay, perfect. Okay. I'm up next here. Let's see. So Cosme's gone. I don't need another guard. I'm set with that. I don't need to pick the running back or a center because you already picked them. You have both your tackles already. I don't need to pick a tackle. So let's go. I'm going to go Zach Baun. I think he's the best inside linebacker in the division last year. He played really, really well. He's young. And I do think there's one other inside linebacker that I think is a good player that still has, playing good football. But I think Zach Baun is a standout at inside linebackers. I'm going to go Zach Baun from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, I'll take George Pickens.
George Pickens? Really?
3 receivers.
You're going with 3 wideouts? Okay.
3 wideouts.
Well, that's your second wideout, right?
Well, that's correct.
Yes.
But I'm going to go with 3 wideouts. I'll let you know that now.
Okay. I'm going with 3 wideouts as well. So we're on the same page with that. All right. So you picked Pickens. He was on my list.
That's where more of the talent lies.
Yeah.
So
No, I think you have to. All right. So with that being the case, I'm going to go with the best. I'm going to try to snag what I think is the. So that's another Cowboy. I'm going to select who I think is the best tight end on the board. I'm going to take Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Fill out my one tight end.
Okay.
So we're about halfway through right now. Just FYI for the fans following along at home.
Okay. I'll take Diggs at the other corner.
Okay. Got the knee injury. He's not practicing, Paul. Very risky. Very risky.
I know.
Very risky. I love Paul focusing on all the glitzy outside positions here. It's very Paul Dottino.
It's very not like me.
All right, so that's Trayvon Diggs. That's another Dallas Cowboy. So that's 5 for them. All right, that's a good question now. This is where it gets a little interesting. How important is it for me to get that player? Should I hold off on that? Okay, you know what I'm going to do here? You know who I think might be the best overall coach in the whole division? I'm going to select Vic Fangio to be my defensive coordinator.
Okay.
I think he is a standout coordinator. I think he is a difference-making coordinator. I don't think there are many of those around. So I'm gonna draft Fangio to be my DC.
Okay. Scary Terry McLaurin
Okay.
becomes my third receiver.
That's fine. All right. So I should be happy I did not pick the other guy because the guy that I wanted is still on the board.
Yeah,
All right,
you can have him.
So Fangio.
You know I've
Eagles.
never liked him, so I'm not taking him.
All right. So scary Terry for Paul. See, that's what I thought you were going to do for Micah. Terry McLaurin. Okay. All right. So Paul has his wide receivers set up here. You have all but one of your offensive linemen set up. You already have yours set, so I don't have to force those. Same thing with that position now. All right, so I need to pick a second. I'm going to go Bobby Wagner. I'm going to go with the old man. He's going to be the leader of my defense. He's going to be in the middle. He's going to call the plays. He's going to make sure everyone's lined up. You put him with Zach Bond, who's an athletic guy, playing behind Dexter Lawrence and Jalen Carter. You try to put the ball up the middle against me, Paul.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Well, he's going to get old someday.
Not in this fantasy world, baby. Not in this fantasy world. That's the commander. Okay.
Let's see. Do I do that or not do that? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll go Tyler Nubin.
Okay. He was the next best. Him and Malik Hooker were the next two safeties.
I needed
for me.
a safety, so
Yep.
I'll take him.
Well, let me put him in put him in your list here. Okay. Now let's see. You have not drafted a defensive tackle yet. That's interesting. I know I grabbed the two guys early.
Exactly.
Let's see.
So
I know. I did it to you.
What's the point?
No, I totally get it. Let's see.
I know who I want, but there's two guys there that are both
Correct.
good.
Correct.
So
That
it
is
doesn't
that is
matter.
very correct. All right, I'm going to go. I think the next best corner, to be totally honest with you, of the guys in this division, I'm going to go Paulson Adebo to play outside. I think he's healthier than these other guys. I think he's done it in the league for a long time. I know he's coming off an injury, but he is healthy now. But I think Paulson Adebo is a good place to go here for one of my two starting cornerbacks. So I'm going to go Paulson Adebo.
Okay.
You're up.
Why not? The edge player, the defensive end linebacker. I'll take Abdul Carter.
You're going to put him at linebacker?
Yeah,
Because you have two edge players already.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do is I got Tibbs, who basically plays kind of stand-up defensive end for the Giants, and I'll put Carter at outside linebacker, and I've got Parsons as my other outside linebacker.
All right, Abdul Carter.
Why not?
Picking the rookie.
Why not?
Paul living on faith. I like it. All right, I'm going to go. Let's see. I'm going to go with another cornerback here, and I'll go with more of a veteran and hope he stays healthy and has some left in. He was so bad at the end of last year. What do you think of Marshawn Lattimore? Do you think he's got anything left?
I think he's a pretty good player. I mean, whether or not that's I had him on my list as a potential guy. I'm not going to tell you not. I did have him as a potential guy, but I went with Mitchell and Diggs, and it was between Lattimore and Diggs because Mitchell's the guy I wanted more than anybody.
Right.
And it was between Lattimore and Diggs.
All right, I'm going to go another safety. I'm going to go Malik Hooker to be my second safety, just because I think after that there's a fairly steep drop off at that position. So I'm going to go Malik Hooker as my second safety.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Because I think the safeties in this league are not very good overall. Myself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you on that.
I'm not a big fan. So let's see here. Enough of this. I'm gonna go take Aubrey.
Oh, that was gonna be my next pick. Good pick, Paul. I like that.
Freaking dude's got a robotic leg.
No, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. All right, so I'm going to take that same approach then, and as my kick returner, I'm going to pick Kevontae Turpin because I think he is by far the best one in the division.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Oh, let's see here. So I don't need to go there. I don't need to go there. That's still left. How many of my front seven do I have? I've got
on
one.
defense. On defense, you have filled out Micah and Kayvon and Abdul Carter. That's it.
Micah, Kayvon, Abdul Carter. Oh, so Payne is still there on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so is Overshawn.
Yeah, he's hurt, though.
Yeah.
He's coming off a serious knee injury.
Yeah. And so's Davis.
He's not coming off a serious injury.
No, he's not.
No, but he's there.
He's there,
Oh,
is
yeah,
what I'm
absolutely,
saying.
yeah.
He's there.
You want some beef?
He's there.
He's got beef.
I'll take Payne.
All right. That makes sense. Deron Payne. Commander player off the board. Boop, boop, boop.
So that's 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4.
All right. So now I'm going to draft my head coach, and man, he's annoying, but he just won a Super Bowl, so I can't not pick him. I'm going to go Nick Sirianni and make him my head coach.
Okay. So we don't have many rounds left, do we?
No, we're getting there. We're
Okay.
getting towards the end.
Okay. So let's see. You got to have two down linemen. You got to have two down
Yeah,
linemen.
you have to have two defensive tackles.
So
Absolutely.
I'm going to take Davis.
Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I
Take
think
Jordan Davis.
he's a good player. Yeah, he was on my list. It was either him or if you want a quicker guy, you would pick Odigizua from Dallas.
Yeah.
Those would have been the two guys.
I got to go with the beef.
Okay. Good pick. All right, now we're kind of just filling out here as we go along. All right, I'm going to stick with my coaching staff, Paul. I'm going to go with Cliff Kingsbury to be my offensive coordinator.
Okay. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I can tell you what you're missing, Paul. You are missing right now a quarterback, a tight end, a left guard, a linebacker, a slot corner, or another linebacker, depending on how you want to build your defense.
Right.
And another safety.
Okay. All right. So I'll go I'm gonna move Tay Banks into the slot. You gonna let me do that?
I mean, if you want to match up against Devontae Smith with Tay Banks in the slot, you can.
Well,
feel
only
free.
because he's the best corner still on the board.
I mean, Deron Bland is still there.
Oh,
Mike
yes, Deron
Stancer is
Bland.
still,
You're right.
still there.
You're right,
Marshawn
Bland.
Lattimore is still there. Cooper DeJean is still there.
Oh, I'm looking at something. I separated these in different categories. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you have a lot of slot guys there.
Thank you for letting me pull that.
No,
back.
yes, no problem.
I will pull that back. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'll take Okereke.
All right, I think he's the next best linebacker. He's the next best
I'll
linebacker
take
on my list.
Okereke.
I think that's a good pick. All right, so Bobby Okereke will go next to Abdul Carter for you at the linebacker position. All right, I'm going to go back here now, and boy, no, not my kicker is going to be my last pick. Yeah, because nobody gets me excited there. No punter gets me excited. All right, so I'm going to go back to corner now, and I was hoping you were going to make the decision easier for me by picking one of these guys. You did not, unfortunately. So I am going to select Deron Bland to be my slot corner from the Dallas Cowboys with all his interceptions.
Yeah, he certainly has a bunch of those. Yeah, you didn't take Lattimore, right? You were talking about
I left
you
him
didn't
there
take
for
him.
you.
See, I crossed him out. That was my problem. I crossed him out before, and
I mean, you still need one more corner. You can take him here.
Yeah.
You can take him.
I'll do that. I'll take Lattimore.
You got my Lattimore. That's fine. All right, so that's another commander. Marshawn Lattimore off the board to Paul Dottino. So you only have one safety left on your defense to fill that out, Paul.
Yes. That's correct.
All right, I'm going to make the tough decision. Both of us were sitting here trying to make the other one make the decision for us, and neither one of us did. So, and I realized I did not have him as the top quarterback.
Well, this is
in my ranking, but I'm going to go Jaden Daniels,
that's
quarterback from the Commanders, to be my quarterback.
It's funny because the quarterbacks in this division, I'm sorry, but I'm just not drop dead knocked over by these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta hate two guys that went to the NFC title game, another one that won a Super Bowl.
No, I understand.
And the one that was second in MVP voting 2 years ago.
I understand that. But when you compare some of the other players at other positions where there's huge gaps, I'm sorry. I think these quarterbacks are more products of their overall environment. Daniels was extremely lucky as a rookie. I think he's going to take a step back. I really do.
I wouldn't surprise if he took a little step back. That wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, as much as I hate to do this, I'm going to have to take Hurts. I mean, because he had a terrific season last year, but again, he is the product of the environment.
He is helped a lot by what's going on around him.
He's helped an awful lot by it.
I agree with that. But you got to give him credit. Not everyone.
Well,
and in the biggest games, that dude
he has done well. He has
very well.
And remember, this list is not about who I like.
Yep.
This is about who you'd have to pick in terms of talent. So I'm going to have to pick Hurts. I may not want to. I may not like him, but I'm picking him.
All right. I think I checked that box. All right. So I'm filling out my line now. I'm going Jordan Mailata as my left tackle.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. Will you allow me to move Jermaine Illuminor to guard?
Will I allow you to move Jermaine Illuminor to guard? Sure, I'll let you. Well,
then
that.
He's going to be my other guard.
Okay. Over Runyon, huh?
I'm a big Illuminor fan.
Okay.
So he's got some position flex. I'd like to use it.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, center. I think the second best center in the division. Believe it or not, even though he's a second-year player, I'm going to go Cooper Beebe at center. I was a big fan of his coming out of the draft. So I'm going to go Cooper Beebe at center here.
Okay. I'll take Anger, the punter.
From Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. Put that in. Paul with both Dallas kickers.
Yeah, see, the other day when you said to me about Dallas' specials, you're right. They've got the best kicker-punter combo in the league,
and
maybe.
Kick returner.
And kick returner's dynamite, too. But their coverage units are just so atrocious. I couldn't
Were they
ignore
that bad last year?
They were atrocious.
Under Fossil? I don't remember that, to be honest with you. I might have a bad memory. I do not recall that.
It's strictly their coverage units. Now, they can do a lot of stuff to you, but their coverage units were not good. And so I went with the balance when I made my selection for the point system the other day. Yep. I went for balance.
All right, I'm going Devontae Smith here as my third wide receiver.
Right. I totally understand that. I will take Theo Johnson at tight end.
Over Ferguson?
I will.
That's crazy.
Here's why.
No, that's crazy, Paul.
No, here's why. Because I believe the Giants are going to have to throw the ball a lot more.
I don't know, but which guy do you think is a better player right now?
Yeah, but this is also partly the situation that they're in, isn't it? Like we talked about with Hurts and Daniels.
It's projecting. I think you want to put these guys in a neutral situation. Which player is the best player?
I told you yesterday on the show that I was thinking if Johnson could reach the heights that they need him to, if he can catch 50 balls and average 13 yards a catch, I don't think Ferguson will do that. And I'm a huge Ferguson fan.
Hasn't Ferguson done that every year in his career?
I don't think he's going to do that with Pickens now. Pickens is going to take a lot of that share away from him. I mean, unless you think they don't want to throw to Pickens, I think that's why they traded for him.
I would imagine they will throw to Pickens an awful lot.
Well, who do you think that's going to come from?
No,
who's going to lose those? Who's going to lose the ball?
I mean, they don't have a second wide receiver right now. You can have two wide receivers and a tight end and do just fine.
But between Lamb and Pickens, they're going to gobble up a lot of those passes.
Right. We'll have to wait and see. So you think Johnson's going to have a more productive year than Ferguson this year?
And remember, coming out of school, I was a huge Ferguson
I know
fan.
that's why I
still am.
That's why I'm so surprised.
I love Jake Ferguson. I really, really do. But I just think when you look at the wide receivers the Giants have, and then look at the two guys Dallas has, somebody's going to get a bigger market share.
Fair enough.
That's where I'm going.
All right, I'm going to fill out my edge position, and you know what a big fan I was of his coming out of school. And I think he's starting to come on now in the pros. I'm going to go Nolan Smith from the Eagles as my second edge.
Okay. So I got a safety to pick, and then I got a coaching staff to go.
Yes.
Okay. So my safety.
Donovan Wilson is the next best guy.
Yeah,
probably,
it's either
right?
Wilson or Blankenship. And
it's up to you.
I'm not.
If you want a thumper, pick Donovan Wilson.
Yeah, I'm. You know what? No, I'm going to go with the damn system guy. I'll go Blankenship. I don't like him, but I'll take him. And then that leaves me with coaches.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's the Eagles with that. Are all your players? Yeah, your players are all filled out.
Yeah, my
That
players
is
are
correct.
done.
All right, I have not picked my special teams guys yet, so I need to do that. All right, my last cornerback. This is interesting. So this is going to be my slot. No, I already have this. I guess I could put Bland outside, right? Because he played outside for them last year.
Sure. There's flex there.
All right, yeah, I'm going to slide Bland outside, and I'm going to draft. Do I like Sansford still better, or do I like Cooper DeJean better? I think Cooper DeJean's a little bit more versatile. Does he can run back, play a little safety? So I'm going to go Cooper DeJean as a guy that'll be my third corner as I add yet another Philadelphia Eagle to our tally here.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
I'll take Dan Quinn
Okay.
as
Agree.
head coach.
Okay. Let me put that in there. So now you don't have either corner yet either, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then I got to pick my kicker on my punter here. I knew you need a kick returner too from what I'm looking at here, right?
Oh, yes, I do. I do need a kick returner.
You also need a kick returner based on what I'm looking at here.
But you
All right,
have
perfect.
a kick returner, so
yes.
it doesn't matter what order I pick these
is-
guys in.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, so I guess is Jake Elliott the next best kicker in the division? Is that who you have?
He was a tad inconsistent last year.
I know. But Gano's always hurt. You can't take him.
Understood.
Do you like Matt Gay better, or do you like?
To me, it's the older, more hurt guy, or it's Elliott who seemed to be more inconsistent.
I'm gonna go Jake.
It's one of
Elliott.
those two guys.
I'll
I
go
would think.
Jake Elliott from the Eagles.
Yeah.
Don't love it, but I wanted Aubrey, but you literally picked him a pick before I was going to select him.
Okay.
Okay, you're up next.
Well, again, if I'm going to continue to preach how I believe the Giants' special teams are, they're putting so much focus into these special teams to try to make it one of the best in the league, not just division. I'll take Smith Morset.
Okay. He was my next best return man, too. I have no problem with that pick. All right, and I'm going to go to the punter. I like Tress Way. I think he's a good punter. So I'm going to go Tress Way at punter.
Okay. Eberflus for my defensive coordinator.
I think that's the guy. I'm with you on that. All right, and then I need to select my running back. And I think this is a tough one, Paul, to be honest with you. Because Brian Robinson's good, but he's more of a banger. He's not a guy that's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. I want a guy that's a little bit more versatile. And
they have Eckler. That's the problem. Eckler gets some share.
I know, and I'm just not I think there's much left. So I'm going to go Tyrone Tracy here. And I'm betting on upside here with Tracy. I understand that.
Okay.
But I think Tyrone Tracy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run it between the tackles. He can do a little bit of everything. I'm going to go Tyrone Tracy as my running back.
All right. So I have just the OC left. Right?
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
And you got two first-timers or Mike Kafka?
That's right. And so, to me, that's a no-brainer. Mike Kafka was the OC when the Giants went to the playoffs. So, I'm going back there.
Okay. So, I'll run through the teams very quickly. Do you want to compare, each side of the ball at a time, or do you want me to give the whole team?
Doesn't matter.
All right, let's do offenses first. So, my offense is Jaden Daniels, Tyrone Tracy, Dallas Goedert. Whew, look at these wide receivers. A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith. Up front, Jordan Mailata, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Landon Dickerson, and Lane Johnson. So that's my offense. Compare that to Paul's offense. He rolls out with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Theo Johnson, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, Andrew Thomas, Jermaine Illuminor, Cam Jurgens, Sam Cosmi, Laramie Tunsil. I like my offense a little bit better. What do you think?
I don't know.
Johnny Mac, hold up one for Schmeelk, hold up two for Dottino. What do you think? Schmeelk. We'll have to ask Pearson what he thinks. Okay. I'm going to send this to him. I'm going to get his take. See what he thinks.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now let's go to the defensive side of the ball.
I don't feel so bad about my offense,
no,
to
you're
be honest with you.
Well, you got a good team. Defensive side of the ball, and this is my flop here. I have Dexter Lawrence and Jalen Carter as my tackles, Burns and Nolan Smith outside, Zach Bourne and Bobby Wagner as my linebackers. My secondary, where I think I'm a little weak at corner, Paulson Adebo, Deron Bland, and Cooper DeJean. Javon Holland and Malik Hooker are my safeties. Paul, you're rolling out Micah Parsons and Kayvon Thibodeau, Deron Payne, Jordan Davis, Abdul Carter, and Bobby Okereke. Your defensive backs are Quinyon Mitchell, Trayvon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyler Nubin, and Reed Blankenship. I like your defense.
Yeah, I do. I like my defense better. Yeah, that I'm not afraid to go out and say I will. I will like my defense better.
So Paul says Dexter Lawrence overrated. His defense is better.
Oh, please. Please. I wouldn't
Brian
say.
Burns, not good enough.
You went and scapped up Dexter before I could get him.
Javon Holland, Paul is dismissing him. Paulson Adebo, not good. Paul's going with his defense.
You know what my
instead.
problem is? I took too many Giants on offense. That's my problem. I should have known better.
Kicking game, I think Paul is the advantage here. I have Jake Elliott, Tressway, and Cavante Turpin. He has Aubrey, Anger, and Amir Smith-Marset. And then with the coaches, I have Sirianni, Kingsbury, and Fangio, and Paul has Dan Quinn, Kafka, and Eberflus. I like my advantage there. So
yeah, I agree with that.
More interesting, and I tried to do these as we went. If I missed one or two, I apologize, but I think we're going to have a decent ballpark anyway. So of all the players we selected, we have 19 Philadelphia Eagles, 15 New York Giants, 12 Dallas Cowboys, and 10 Washington Commanders.
10 Commanders. Well, it took long enough for me to finally break the seal on Washington.
You did, but we got to 10.
You know? And doesn't this go back to what we all thought about the Commanders going into last season, that they would be possibly the fourth team in the division, possibly. Oh, certainly not battling for one or two. We all thought that. And then what happened? They turned out to have a spectacular season. Daniels came out of the box, and he was just firing away, and everything really went well for them. And they were probably the biggest overachiever in the league last year.
I'll say this.
And I think we're kind of reflecting that right now.
I think you're seeing the importance of the quarterback position, right?
He played very well.
This was reflected
Very
in how the
productive.
Giants came out in our position group ratings as well, where the Giants fared pretty well in those ratings for all of us, much better than they ever have before when we've done those rankings.
Oh, I think that's true.
And not just in Paul's, and mine as well. So can the Giants get good enough play out of the quarterback position to take advantage of the rest of the players on the roster to make that group good enough? I think that's the question that remains to be seen. That's what I think, if you look at, what people predicting and things of that nature, it's because of the quarterback positions, although teams are higher than the Giants are on people's prediction boards, right? Can the Giants get enough out of that quarterback position to take advantage of the rest of the talent? And, I didn't separate it by offense or defense. I probably should have. But you had both Giant safeties. You had Paulson Adebo. You had Bobby Okereke. You had Dexter Lawrence. And you had 3 Giants that play the edge, all picked on defense. That's 8 guys. That's 8 out of 22 guys. That's more than a third of the defensive players were Giants. It's a good number. It's about 40% right there. That is it's a little less, about 38%. That's a good number. So I think you like that. Offensively, on the other hand, you only have 1 wide receiver out of the 6, be a Giant.
Right.
You did have one of the 2 running backs, but I think that was kind of a toss-up as to who the second guy was going to be there. You only have 2 offensive linemen out of the 10 that ended up being Giants.
Right.
One of the tight ends, but again, I think that was a toss-up right between him and Ferguson.
Yeah.
I mean, you see there's just much more of a presence on the defensive side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball. I think that speaks to where the Giants are as a team right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is why when Joe Shane went into the offseason, and, we all heard about how hard they went after Matt Stafford. We all heard about it. Matt Stafford's a Pro Bowl level quarterback.
Yeah, we talked about it crazy at the Combine.
Okay, yeah. And it looked like they were in position to get him, and then he decided to stay, and the Rams re-signed him and gave him the extension and the raise and everything else. Okay, fine, pivot, go get somebody else. And they went after and got Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson is 36 plus years old. The way he's throwing the ball right now, I do feel like he has enough to raise this boat above sea level. I really do. We're going to have to see. They're going to have to protect him because I don't know how many more shots. Folks, the one thing I will say about Wilson, yes, he's really, really cut. He's thick. He looks like a running back. He's in outstanding shape and condition. That's quite clear. And he can still throw the ball. That's clear too. So what do we know? We know he's a little bit slower as he roams around and runs out of the pocket. That we know. And we also know that he has taken a ton of hits and sacks over his career in the National Football League. I do not want to see this offensive line get him hit too often this year. They've got to play better, because how much more is he going to be able to take before he does break down? At some point, the beatings that he's taken are going to collectively force him out of a lineup. It's going to happen, John. I just don't know when.
If the offensive line plays as well as they did the first 6 games of the year,
He's okay.
Enough? Is that enough for
Yeah,
you?
I think it is. If they could play at that level for at least two months out of the season, hopefully 3. I don't know if I can get it out of them for the whole season. I don't know. That may be too much to ask. But can you get me 2 or 3 months of that level of play? Then Russell Wilson's good enough to make the Giants very competitive. I believe that. See, I think you and I actually agree on most of what we think with this Giants depth chart. My biggest difference between me and you, I think, is that I am incredibly high on special teams. I'm buying the game plan. And you want to wait and see, right? You want to wait and see. And I think that's fair, because Smith-Marsette.
Well, look, I Paul, we've talked about this. We put, for special teams play, I put a lot, and I mean a lot, into the importance of the field goal kicker.
Right.
I just think that is the most important part of special teams. It put points on the board.
Right.
I think it's critical in close games to have a really good field goal kicker. And
Absolutely
I
agree.
love Graham Gano. He's phenomenal.
But wait
The last
and see.
2 years, he has not been able to
Correct.
stay healthy.
And
So,
I totally understand that.
yes.
Your questions are, Gano's got to be healthy, and I think your other question is, Smith-Marsette has a small sample size, right?
He does, but
We're not sure.
I feel relatively good about Smith-Marsette.
Okay.
I'm not that concerned about him.
Okay, so I feel real good about him. I feel real good about the resources and their belief in the coverage units. I think that's very, very important. And I do believe that, the kicking game's going to be okay. I think Gano's going to bounce back. Now, that may be fool's gold, because 2 years in a row he's been hurt, and he's been in this league, 17 years? That may be fool's gold. I know this. When he does kick, he's about as good as anybody in the conference.
He's super consistent.
Okay? So I'm putting a little more faith into the specials right now. You're a little bit more wait and see, and you have a right to be. You absolutely have a right to be.
And frankly, Paul, and I know we're not going to get into this philosophical debate because we've done it before, and fans have heard it. They're probably tired of it. I just don't put as much stock into that as you do, necessarily.
And that's fair too.
Right.
That's okay. That's a matter of preference. Then I think the other area where you and I probably disagree some is I'm much higher on the potential of the tight end room. I just think we're going to see a lot more production out of those guys, whether it's Theo, Bellinger, if it turns out that it's Dulcich or Fredoni or whoever it is. I think the Giants tight end room, I'm expecting, in fact, I think it's almost imperative out of them that they get significant production out of the tight end room. And I think you're probably a more even keel on the tight ends than I am.
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't seen guys do it yet, to be honest with you.
And again, the wait and see is perfectly normal. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. I won't dispute that at all. But those two factors, I think, is where you and I are probably biggest in terms of our cavern.
Now, I have said
right?
the tight end group to me might be the most interesting position group on the roster. Like, there are a lot of pieces there that fascinate me that I think have a lot of talent and I think can turn into something.
But
that's
you're
really
in show
good.
me phase.
But I'm in the show me phase. That's correct.
And that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I'm being a little ahead of the horse here, putting the carriage a little bit ahead of the horse, and I'm putting a lot of faith in the specials and the tight ends. You're in show me phase on both. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much exactly on the same page on every other unit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair overall when you talk about the group. Look, the defense has the talent to be a very good unit. If they can if that second cornerback spot, works itself out and they figure that out, and that second defensive tackle spot figures itself out, and I think that, Ray Robinson Harris will be a good enough player where, you're going to be okay there given everything else that's going on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think you, first of all, need the defense to be really good, most importantly.
No doubt.
Paul. But I think they have the talent to be very good. They're just, as I talked about it, defense is a weak link-based position. And again, if that second quarterback spot works itself out, I don't see a ton of weak links for teams to go after on this defense. Like, there's no heading into this game, I love this matchup. I'm going to attack this matchup again and again.
Right.
I think you feel okay about a lot of the matchups that you're going to have against other teams in the division.
Right. No question about it. In general, that is true for the defense, but on offense, it's no more imperative than it is on the offensive line. Because if you've got that weak link on the offensive line, defensive coordinators will make sure they abuse that spot. And they will short-circuit whatever it is you're trying to do by coming after that spot. They want that Achilles heel. And they can do a lot of damage to you by attacking that spot. So the problem becomes for the Giants, can across the board on the offensive line, can they avoid an Achilles heel situation? That, in all honesty, to me, that is the biggest of all the issues that the Giants are facing right now. Because that Achilles heel could pop up anywhere along that offensive line. We talked about Andrew Thomas. Great player. But because of the injuries, he could potentially wind up being an Achilles heel. We don't know that. We just don't know, John. So, hey, that's what the offseason's all about, right? The offseason's about projecting, trying to rationalize, trying to logically figure out where the upside is, what can you realistically expect from each of the spots. The one good thing is we sit here today, compared to the bulk of the last several off seasons, we can at least sit here today and say the talent level on this team from top to bottom is higher than most any team the Giants have had in the past decade. I think we can both say that with confidence.
Decade, I think, strong. Because I think the 2016 team was pretty talented. I think that was, and that's within 10 years. So I wouldn't put this team on the level of that team. I don't think necessarily. They still rolled up Beckham Jr. on that team.
No, yeah,
Verdon and Jenkins and Snacks. That was still a pretty loaded team.
You know what though? There was some suspects on defense on that club, and I think this defense is better than that one. So I would say perhaps if you want to say on par, let's just say this: the two playoff teams, 22 and 16. In the last decade, those are the only two teams that were above sea level. So at worst, this is a top 3 team from the last decade. At worst,
yeah.
So, anyway, that's where it's at, folks. This was a very interesting. I hope you guys had fun listening to this because it was certainly interesting and it was a little bit offbeat. And maybe we gave you some food for thought, maybe some water-cooler conversation around your respective offices.
All right, so I redid my counting.
What do you got?
I missed, as we did that conversation, I only messed up one number, and it was the Eagles, actually. So they were not 19, they were at 17.
Okay.
The Giants were at 16, so that's 33 total.
Wow.
And then 12 for the Cowboys. That puts it at 45, right? And then 11 for Washington. That puts us at 56. And each of us did draft 28 players. 28 times 2 is 56.
Yeah.
That's how I know my math is right. So it was 17 Eagles, 16 Giants, 12 Cowboys, 11 Commanders. That's where we wound up on this list.
How about that?
The Giants, just so people want to know where the Giants wound up, Tyrone Tracy at running back, Burns at edge, Dexter at tackle, Adebo at corner, Holland at safety. You want to laugh?
I did take Newbin.
No, I know.
What happened?
I highlighted Saquon blue instead of green.
No, you did
Yes,
not.
I did.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so the Giants
Shame on you.
The Giants are at 15 and the Eagles are at 18. Pardon me.
Okay.
Jeez, talk about a Freudian slip. Jeez.
Yeah, really.
Silly.
That's a multi-million-dollar
yes,
slip right there.
That is correct. So then Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. Theo Johnson at tight end, Illuminor and Thomas on the offensive line, Thibodeau at the edge, Carter and Okereke at linebacker, Newbin at safety, Amir Smith-Marset as a return man, and Kafka as the offensive coordinator. I'll go through. We got a few minutes. So the Cowboys, you had both specialists, Aubrey and Anger, Matt Eberflus, DC, That was the only coach from the Cowboy staff that was as one of the 6. Trayvon Diggs corner, Micah Parsons edge, Deron Bland corner, George Pickens wide receiver, Kavonte Turpin kick returner, Malik Hooker safety, and then Tyler Smith and Cooper Beebe on the offensive line, which shows, by the way, only 2 Cowboys. It shows how far that Cowboy offensive line has fallen.
Yeah.
That only 2 Cowboys were on the offensive line group. And then CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver, which again, and George Pickens, I mentioned that. So you had two of those guys in there. For the Commanders, you had Jaden Daniels on offense, along with Terry McLaurin, and then 3 Commander offensive linemen to the Paul Dottino's over here, with Cam Durbin, Sam Cosme, Laramie Tunsil. Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator.
Juergens is Philly.
Oh, so I did. So you know what? I must have just, that wasn't a mistake. I know Juergens does not play for the Commanders. That must have just been a slip of the finger there. So you put the Commanders in at 10. See, I'm happy I'm going through this. And doing
I'm
this.
glad you can erase on that.
So you know what? My initial numbers were actually right on the money. So the Eagles were at 19, 15 for the Giants, 12 for Dallas, 10 for Washington. So McLaurin a wide receiver, and then Cosme and Tunsil at on the offensive line for the Commanders. And then on defense, you had Deron Payne, Bobby Wagner at middle linebacker for me, Marshawn Lattimore corner, Dan Quinn at head coach. And then for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is going to be a long list, guys. Bear with me. Jalen Hurts on offense, along with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Cam Juergens.
Oh, my goodness.
It's half the offensive linemen are Eagles. It's ridiculous. A 4 and the 10. The other teams each had 2. The Eagles had 4. That's kind of how that's going to go, right? Yeah. On defense, you have Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, Cooper DeJean, Jordan Davis, Quinion Mitchell, Reed Blankenship. So how many Eagles made the defenses? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Eagles of the 22 on defense.
Wow. Salud.
And then you had their place kicker, Jake Elliott. You had their head coach, Nick Sirianni, their defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. And those are your Eagles on the list. So,
you know, folks, honestly,
the Eagles are really good. I mean, what can you say? The Eagles are really, really good.
You know what's funny? I mentioned this the other day. I don't know if it was with Lance or with Matt. And you'll second this notion, I'm sure. Last offseason, there was a lot of talk about Sirianni maybe being at odds with Hurts.
Yeah.
Coaching staff was going to have to shuffle again because of some of the guys leaving. And, you know, some of those guys on defense looked like they were getting old. And maybe they hadn't retooled it really as well.
And by the way, I don't think that the guys on defense getting old was wrong. The thing is that a lot of the young guys they brought in,
they
stepped up.
They stepped up and they filled in
Jalen
adequately.
Carter became a star. Nolan Smith became close to a star.
They got the 2 corners.
Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, exactly. Reed Blankenship took another step in terms of
being a
player.
linebackers.
Zach Bond came out of nowhere. So,
I mean,
that's why bringing in young talent is so important.
Every stinking domino fell right for them because that should have been a team that we thought their window of opportunity was closing. And instead, they just opened up a whole new window. They blew a hole in the wall and built a new window.
You got to draft well. Guys, there's a reason. It's by design. The reason we spend 3 or 4 months every year locked in on the draft here, and we literally only do it from January through April. 4 months every year. A third of our programming I dedicate to the draft. It's the most important thing NFL teams do every year.
No question.
If you don't draft well, you're not going to sustain success. You cannot do it any other way. Cannot do it any other way. It's a requirement. And the Eagles have been darn good at it, unfortunately for the Giants.
Yeah, they're in the division, and their window was open again, and it's going to be awfully tough for somebody to dethrone them.
So maybe tomorrow, it's going to be you and Lance tomorrow, and then it's you and Matt on Thursday. Maybe on Friday with you and SciTac, you could have SciTac and Pearson break down the 2 teams and have them give their analysis. That could be fun.
Sure.
Okay. All right, folks, that's about all the time we have for Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. We appreciate you being with us. Don't forget, folks, that if you want a Giants season ticket membership, now is the time. It's an unbelievable home schedule. You got a bunch of stars coming into the building, great quarterbacks, great coaches. You want to become a season ticket member? Go check it out. Giants.com/tickets. You have you're connected to the team all year round. You get member benefits, not just on game days. A lot of great stuff. Giants.com/tickets. Become a season ticket member. Check that out. All of our content is, of course, on Giants TV. It's on all your TV streaming apps, your smart TVs. Check it out. Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, all that stuff. Giants Huddle podcast. We're going to have Sean Aguano, who is the running back coach for Arizona State, coming up later this week.
Did you
talk
talk
a
to
little
him already?
Cam Scatterbo. Yep, that is
Good.
done. That is in the can. So that'll be coming up later on this week. That should be good. The one coming up just today, I believe. Let me think. I already did Gundy. Oh, it's Jason Candle, the head coach of Toledo, to talk about Darius Alexander. So those are the 2 interviews on the Giants Huddle coming up this week. That should be fun. Working on some good stuff next week as well. Make sure you go check that out. Thank you for joining us in our podcast studio, brought to you by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. Tomorrow it will be Paul and Lance, and Pearson's going to have a little bit of a surprise for you guys in terms of a show topic.
Uh-oh.
Blind rankings. And we're not going to tell them the topics off the top of their head. And Pearson's going to be a big part of that show. He's going to
Does it have something to do with the Patriots?
No, it'll have something to do with, no, it'll all be Giants related.
Okay, well, it's Pearson. You never know.
For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time, everybody.